if you told me that this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy was going to transform and become Elvis Presley, I would have probably pulled a Will Smith and slapped the shit out of you. What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Elvis. This is my highly anticipated film of the year, and I am so happy to be talking about this film because I absolutely enjoyed this film. Elvis stars Austin Butler and is directed by Baz Lurhman and tells the story of the rise to stardom of Elvis Presley, all the challenges that he went through and everything that he had to endure to become the first rock and roll star to change the world with his music, and all the tribulation that came because of that. A lot of women that listened to his music were in love with him, with the way that his music was, the way that he moved. And there were a lot of people that didn't like the way that he moved, didn't like the way that he presented his music. And so it digs into that, just not all too much. It kind of sidelines it just a little bit. It's a very straightforward biopic of Elvis Presley and everything that people loved about this. Essentially, it is a love letter to him, and that's something that I loved about this film. I thought Austin Butler was fantastic. He is transformed into Elvis, and if you saw him as Tex in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you wouldn't even be able to recognize him in that film and in this film. You wouldn't be able to tell them apart, and that is something that I loved about Austin Butler's performance in this film, is that he was able to transform into being Elvis Presley. He was able to bring out the mannerisms that was presented that Elvis had, and he for the most part, he absolutely killed this role. That was one thing that I was really excited to see going into this film, because I watched Austin Butler growing up in the Nickelodeon shows iCarly, That's Classified, Zoe 101. He made a brief appearance in Hannah Montana. And so seeing him rise in this film, I'm really excited to see what he does, because he is a star on the rise, even though a lot of people don't know who he is. I think this film is going to easily, whenever his name comes into conversation, people will recognize who he is. He actually killed it. I thought this film was directed with style and glamour. I thought it was beautifully shot. I thought Baz Lurhman did a really good job of handling this material. It is a little bit too long, but even though this film is being told through the eyes of Tom Hanks' character, Tom Parker, I could have done without the narration. Sometimes the narration works to pull you into a world, kind of like what they did with The Wolf of Wall Street. But other times it doesn't feel necessary, and I don't think you needed the narration sprinkled throughout the entire film. I thought that dragged the runtime just a little bit too much. This film is about 2 hours and 39 minutes, and it does go on forever. It felt like I was watching the never-ending story. But for the most part, I was really entertained and seeing the world through Baz Luhrmann's eyes. But I think for what this film was, I thought it was amazingly outstanding. I thought it was beautifully shot. It does combine the style that you see in a Baz Luhrmann film, but I thought the makeup and the costume design on Tom Hanks was amazing, and it really digs more into the whole backstabbing that Tom Parker did to Elvis Presley while he was managing him. All the backdoor dealings that you would see in a record label producer. It goes into that a lot more than it does into Elvis's life, and I wish we could have scaled that back just a little bit, but I still had a good time with this film. I thought it was still enjoyable. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it brought out the emotions that Elvis fans are going to have. I think if you're an Elvis fan, you are going to enjoy this film because it is spectacular. Everything about this film is wonderful. I think you could have scaled the runtime just a little bit because it feels like they're putting a lot in. It feels like they're juggling a little bit too much. But other than those little minor gripes, I thought it was beautifully told. I thought the music worked just as fine. I thought it blended in perfectly. They didn't overuse the new style mixed in with the old style. I thought it worked wonderfully in this film. The performances in this film is top notch, and it is going to be wonderful. I don't know if it's going to crack my top 10 of the year, but right now it's probably in the top 6, maybe. I really enjoyed this film a lot more than I actually thought I would. I didn't love it as much as I wanted it to, mostly because it does feel like it's going on for way too long, when you could have scaled it back just a little bit. Maybe 20-30 minutes would have been fine. But I thought Baz Lurhman did a really good job of handling the material. I thought he did a really good job of bringing this film to life. Overall, I'm going to go ahead and give Elvis an 8.5 out of 10. I did enjoy it. The runtime does factor in just a little bit because it is going on for a little bit too long for me. But I was entertained throughout. I'm not sure if it was just because I was tired. I might watch it again just to see how I feel on a second watch. But I thought for the most part, I thought the performances in this film from everybody was fantastic. From Tom Hanks, what do you expect? But really the biggest standout in this film was Austin Butler. I think he is a star on the rise. I think this film is going to bring a lot of people to his awareness. I think a lot of people are going to recognize him. I would nominate, if the Oscars were held tomorrow, I would nominate him, but I wouldn't give it the win. I think I would still give the win over to Ke Huy Quan from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I thought his performance was better than Austin Butler, just a tad. But if the Oscars were held tomorrow, I would nominate him, but wouldn't give him the win. But I saw this early, so the movie comes out this weekend. Are you excited for Elvis? How excited are you for this film? If you have watched it in any early screenings, or if it's already been out near you, go ahead and let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. Let's have a little less conversation and a little bit more action by clicking that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on more reviews. Until next time, this is Josie Reviews.